I don't know what we're doing, but
That's a good intro question.
There's the cold intro.
Hey, friend, welcome to another episode of the Sunday Sitdown. And I'm going to talk a little slower so that you can put me on 1.5 and listen to us quickly.
Did we get complaints?
No. No, I just know that there are people out there listening at 1.5. So shout out to all my 1.5 listeners, because that's how I listen to books. Some people, I often get asked, how do I read as much as I do? Yep. And the trick is to listen on Audible at 1.5 times speed.
That's the key.
Yep. And it keeps my brain engaged.
Yep.
So we hope that you're having a great start to your Advent. In the name of not 1.5 times in your life, we are trying to encourage you to slow down.
Yeah.
And we are trying to encourage ourselves to also do that. So I know we made candles this weekend.
We did. Not together.
No.
Not together.
With
but
our families.
With our families. Yeah. And I took to heart, because we talked about that last Monday. We talked about that and that it was one of the practices we'd outlined. And so, we got these little candle kits that are kind of meant for kids, but also, we're doing it with kids, so works.
Yep.
And we made our own. Yours were more liturgically accurate. My family went rogue on some of the colors.
I love that.
Which I was a little bit antsy about, but
we stuck to the purple, the pink, and the white.
Yeah.
And we managed. So we got one like really short, tiny candle, and then one really tall candle, and then one medium, wider one. Like we managed to figure it out.
So my daughter kind of went off of vibes of like, when we talked about like the different weeks. So she's like, well, joy. I feel like yellow is a joyful color, so we're gonna go with that. And I was like, you know what? I can't deny that.
See, it's way better than what we did, which is why are we making it purple, Dad? Because that's the color it's always been. I gave a little bit better of a example or reason why the liturgical colors are what they are.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Essentially, that was the answer. Well, this is the way it's been, which is I love that answer. As churches, we give that answer far too many times.
And sometimes that's okay, and other times it's a poor excuse or poor reason to keep something the way it is. But I digress. Otherwise, we could get on a train we don't want to get on. But we had a really beautiful moment. Like we had dinner last night. We then made the candles, and then we lit the hope candle, and we kind of turned off as many lights as we could with still being able to read, because then we read the Advent devotional together as a family. I told our daughter, who's almost 10, and I was like, she may not understand or grasp all of it. There's some big words in there, but we're going to do that together as a family. So,
yeah. I love it. So we did the exact same thing. In the afternoon, we made candles in the afternoon and put them on the dining room table. And then at the beginning of dinner, as we were just kind of all sitting down to eat, we set the table and then lit the candle, read. Anna, actually, my oldest daughter, read from Isaiah. And then we let the candle burn during dinner. Because that's about as long as I want. Like, they're small.
And
they're small candles.
They're beeswax, which
they
sort
burn
of
quickly,
like melts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we just had it on during dinner, and like one is not a statistically significant number, I'm told, but like it felt like it shifted dinner for us. We were able to slow down and talk a little bit more intentionally about our day and our day together. And my kids were asking questions about like, what does that mean in the verse? Or like, how do we understand what's going on? What like, why are we doing this? And those are great, beautiful, slowed down moments, and they're easy to miss and rush through. So one for one. I appreciate it.
We'll find out next week. Maybe we'll check in and see how things are going. But, and I know for me, like this has been, I think for me, and I think that you can probably relate to this in your own ways, but like there has to be such an intentionality to, and I'm just even like slowing down my cadence as I say this. I'm slowing down. And what I mean by that is I was definitely feeling some like anxiety and sort of like hurriedness in my spirit going into this past, weekend and whatnot. Like we had not only the usual plans to like for our Sunday service and getting all the things ready, but we had a funeral on Saturday that you and I were both a part of. I had a bit of a pet related emergency that I was dealing with. And just feeling this pull of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sucked into like a vortex of anxiety and just the exact opposite of what I want for this season and what the exact opposite of what we were describing last week.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that's been like for you, but that's kind of what I've been trying to do and somewhat successfully.
Yeah. You had a lot going on this weekend. And I think so we got a comment on one of our posts, and the comment said a number of different really good things, just kind of expressing this, all in on the idea of slowing down, but how do we balance the reality of life? Like, how do we balance the fact that, if we're if you're in a home with two parents who are working, like that's busy. That's a hard season to manage, right? Where if you both need to be working, which is kind of everybody right now, most people, like that's the reality of life. That's much more difficult to slow down. Or what do you do for like a single parent who's working, trying to work a job and a half just to make ends meet? Like, I think on the one hand, it is like we do have to step back and recognize it's a gift and like a privilege even to be able to talk about slowing down and okay, what are we going to remove from our lives? Like some people are not able to do that. And I left a comment back because like I feel that too. Like I feel the stress of people's lives. It's one thing to say, ideally it's good for you to slow down and it's good for you to stop doing some things and it's good for you to take more time and be more intentional. And it's one thing to say that, and then it's another thing to have that really push against the difficulty of life for many people. All I left on that comment was, feeling the same things. This is what I love about community, which is that some of us have more bandwidth, some of us have less. Some of us have maybe a bit more energy to be creative, some of us have less. And just a really simple thing this week, an example of that in I'll say simple but profound way or a significant way, is I had like every plan and intention to get our prayer room completely set up and ready to go with all the stations. I got one station complete because there's Sunday to be ready for and a funeral to be ready for on Saturday and all of those pieces on top of, first week of Advent is always kind of crazy. So had somebody come along and say, hey, walked into the prayer room and said, I'll take care of this for you this week. It needs some help.
I love that so much.
And I as do I. Like, here's the ego piece is like, no, I can do it. I can take care of it. I'll make it better. I'll make it look better than it does now. But like the community accountability, like surrender, shoulder to shoulder side of things, the much healthier side says, actually, you're better gifted at this than I am anyways. And I love that you're offering to do this. Thank you. I need the help. Absolutely. And like I say, like that's it was a significant thing for me this week. That's not like a life or death thing. That's not a food on the table or not thing. That's not a sick kid or not, or like there are other things that this is not. But what it is I think a good example of the fact that every single one of us needs to settle into a community and a community rhythm. And as much as we're trying to cultivate individual personal practices and personal rhythms, what we're really trying to cultivate is together a rhythm as a church.
Yes.
So that when you've got like a funeral and a Sunday service and a pet emergency and you go, okay, we got you covered, right? and here are some other ways that we can help out. And you can't slow down, so let us do some things for you.
Yeah.
Another really good example is we had a whole group of people go to a house this weekend and do a whole lot of prep work for a family who needs it.
Yeah.
And, without their permission and without going into further detail, I think it was a beautiful example of a church rallying around a family in a significant time of need and a significant time of change within that need. And here's the thing, you and I got a text message about it, just simply saying like, I think this was one of my favorite days being a part of this church ever.
And it wasn't on the property.
It wasn't on the property.
Yeah.
And you and I weren't there.
Yeah.
And that's not to say you and I should feel guilty for not being there.
No.
What I'm saying is like the church was being the church.
Yeah.
The community was being the community for a family who can't slow down right now. And so a group of people who could take a day and not do other things said, we're going to do these things on your behalf.
Yeah. It's one of the most beautiful things that the body of Christ can do and be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just to like summarize it, like one of my hopes for our church is that with all of these practices, what we're doing is creating space for those things to happen. Because as we as individuals or as families or as households learn to create more space, what that does allow is for us to have the space to see a need and go, oh, you know what? I can step into that. I can do that. That's one thing that I can take care of so that you don't have to shoulder it. And that just helps kind of raise the burden off people who are like, yeah, you know what? I would love to slow down. I'd love to make candles with my kids, but I'm working 2 jobs. And after they go to bed, I'm online doing like my second job remotely. And, it's enough if I can get my work in and spend some time with my kids and put them to bed and have meals on the table. And, like this, like you said, this is the beautiful thing about how the church is meant to live.
Yeah.
So that's my hope for us is as we individually figure it out, what that is going to change is that we're actually collectively, communally, corporately as a church, changing the way we are together.
Because you can imagine that, it ends up being able to be, we end up being able to fill in the gaps for one another. In seasons of particular intensity for others, but maybe lightness for others, and it not to say it's all just going to even out, but just to say that like God can enable His people to be at work in other people's lives for those seasons, and it's a beautiful thing. So it kind of actually ties in a little bit to where we were this past Sunday. We hopped into Advent week 1. You were in Matthew chapter 1, kind of looking particularly at the story of Joseph. And then as we look at this story of this unexpected kind of moment for him as the angel comes and delivers this kind of bomb on Joseph that just is going to change his life, change his world. It was unexpected. It was confusing. It was extremely disruptive to, he thought, I'm betrothed to this woman, Mary, and we're going to get married and maybe we'll have some kids and it's going to be great, And all of a sudden it's like, nope. Well, God's got other plans, right? And so kind of connected to that, like how, maybe this is a question for you, is just like, how do you respond? How do you respond when you get like, obviously we're not going to have a disruption like that. Yeah. That's kind of a once in a universe kind of disruption. But like we all have disruptions. We all have moments of sort of unexpected issues coming up. Like how do you tackle it? How do you respond?
Yeah, sometimes better than others. I think that's a challenge. Okay, I think there's a couple different kinds of disruptions, right? Like there's everyday disruptions, and I think when I'm like personally, when I'm at my best, I'm able to move from one thing to another. When I'm at my worst, I have a really hard time shifting from like, okay, one task is disrupted now by another task. I think the thing that I hope for myself to do, because I think it's different to start talking about God disrupting you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so the first thing is, how do you start to discern whether it's God disrupting you or just a disruption?
Yeah. That's a good starting point. Yeah.
Is it a good disruption? Is it a helpful disruption? Is it one that I should be paying attention to? Is it not? Like, how do you start to figure out where a disruption is God speaking? So here's Joseph, like the way we have it in Matthew. Joseph in a dream is visited by an angel who says very specifically, "Hey, I know what you've been thinking, and you could do that. I'm going to challenge you here. Don't do that. Instead, go do the thing I think at the end of the day to be right and good, which is go take Mary home, marry her."
It's always confusing. Mary.
Yep. And then, and the son that she's going to give birth to will be the savior of the world. Like it's a very big God moment type style disruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think we all just respond differently to little disruptions. The thing that I would say is, in my life, what I have come to realize is that while God does disrupt us like this on occasion, these types of disruptions, and I'm pointing at my Bible here.
To Matthew chapter 1.
To Matthew chapter 1. God speaking to Joseph in a dream, that level of disruption is not the only way that God is going to disrupt your life. And far more often, those smaller disruptions are actually opportunities for you to listen to what God is doing.
Yeah, because even if they're not these God-sized disruptions, which probably don't happen if we do have them in our life, it's often only a few times in a lifetime. You know, like maybe a few like seasons where it's like God kind of arrests us and is like, okay, I'm trying to grab your attention here.
Yeah.
More often than not, it is the small things. And I think how we cultivate responses to the small things over time can kind of potentially help us in those big moments where God is truly shifting something or dropping an earth-shattering bomb on us or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we were talking, like not on recording, last week a little bit around this question that I heard somebody suggest that all churches ask, and I really like it in interviews. And I don't remember where I heard it first. This is not my thought. And maybe we were talking about it on the podcast. But when was the last time you said yes to God? As being a somewhat of a gauge on where your spiritual health and hearing, like your ability to hear God, is actually sitting. So, like, if you can think back over your last days and weeks and months and try to ask yourself that question, when was the last time I said yes to God? I think that's the invitation in the disruption.
Yeah.
So as disruptions come into our lives, I think one of the things that I hope I do is simply turn to a posture of prayer and asking God, like, God, is this something that you are wanting me to say yes to? And then, okay, how are you inviting me to respond in this moment? And is this going to be something that is, is this something that is going to be pulling me or pushing me closer or further away from God into these moments? Like, I think it's good even in some ways just to listen to how you're feeling. So for me, disrupted. Number one, is this a disruption, God, that you want me to say yes to?
Yeah.
Because if it is, game on. And if it's not, move on. But, there's some more, obviously it takes more than just like a quick question. Okay. No, right, great. No answer. Yes answer. Okay. Like, I think that what you were trying to do is just cultivate a habit and a practice of like responding in prayer and just being open to what God is doing or not doing. Worship night last week, I think definitely, let me take you just completely through very quickly a disruption. So I had this, so we had this worship night at the church and beautiful, very different than a Sunday morning, but just so anointed, I think, in terms of God's presence and power, people showing up to worship and sing and pray.
It was,
So partway through, I started sensing, hey, from God, go and anoint this. Go and anoint this person. And so that's language that makes sense to me. In the New Testament, writers talk about when somebody is sick, you gather a group of elders together and you go in and you anoint this person for healing. And we're like, yep, kind of not 100% sure exactly what's happening as we do it, when we do it. But it's one of those things that I look at scripture and I go, it says very clearly and very specifically to do it boldly. So I'm like, game on, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And at that same moment, so sensing this from God, one of my kids runs back into the sanctuary and sits down beside me and then actually like lies down and wasn't feeling great and is now like snuggled up, just kind of listening to the music. And I'm like, well, this is fantastic. Like in here, just listening to the music, but also a little bit of a disruption because I had this very clear sense from God, go and anoint this person. And so my kid looks, so this, a couple minutes go by and I'm not sensing any different change, like in the, like go and do this thing. I'm like, so now like, do I make my kid go back? She's not feeling good. Do I say like, sorry kid, like I got to go and do this thing and I'm going to leave you here, or go back to, the kid zone where all the other kids were playing. Like,
it's like that's how pastors' kids grow resentments toward the church.
Yeah. So like that, there's a little bit of a tension there. And this is not a significant thing, but it is. So a minute more goes by. My kid looks up at me and I had the oil, the vial in my hand. And she goes, Dad, what's that in your hand? And I said, it's a vial of oil. And when people are sick, one of the things that the Bible tells us to do is to anoint their head with oil and to pray for them. And she goes, I don't understand. And I said, come with me, I'll show you. And so she came and we anointed this individual. And here's my kid, 7 years old, putting her hand on this person and praying for him.
What a beautiful moment.
And
that's remarkable.
So like, that's not a, yay, go Grant.
No,
that, and in no way is that a story of me being a successful parent.
But you somehow were able to do both of the things that you were being called to in that moment.
Yeah.
That hey, like it wouldn't have been right for you to just be like, sorry kid, I got ministry calls. I got to do the thing that But inviting her into that moment, and also like I kind of have to believe that it was a God thing that she had the the thought of like, hey, I'm gonna what is that, Dad? Like, because it provides an opportunity, right? And so maybe that's like something that I'm sort of inferring from that is like seeing disruption as an opportunity for God to do God things, right? Sometimes a disruption is just a disruption. Sometimes, like this is a busy place sometimes throughout the week and we get lots of like just intermittent disruptions throughout our day. And sometimes those are just annoying when we're trying to like buckle down and get some stuff done. But it's also just life. But like these are not those sorts of disruptions, but sort of these, what you're describing here. Like, what is God trying to teach us or teach your child? Like, man, that's powerful.
So I think it's a posture thing, right? Because it's so easy. I know it's so easy for me to get frustrated, be like, oh no, I was supposed to do this thing and now I'm not able to get this thing done, and that's going to change this thing over here, and you just start going down that trail. And I think the invitation is just to stay as open as possible and say, God, like what? Okay. How do you need me to be in this moment? Is it just a good starting place?
I think for me, in my disruption, which was in this case a pet emergency, which I won't get into all the details, but one thing that I had to do was really just say, okay, God, what do I need to let go of here? And I don't attribute that necessarily to like, being totally altruistic and to like, I don't think it's not like me patting myself on the back kind of moment, but it's just like, okay, what is the right thing to do here? And God, how can you help me let go of some stuff? Right. And like that's, I don't always do that well, but that was kind of where my posture was this past weekend of like, okay, God, I think I need to let go of some stuff, and God, would you help me to do that? And so like that's something that I was just thinking about as I was reflecting on how I respond, because I don't always respond. I can often get anxious and frazzled, and sort of go into just like not control. I don't see myself as a particularly controlling person, but I can be sort of just like, okay, we're just going to get things done. And until these distractions are all dealt with, like that's sort of my posture at times. Yep. And my sense this weekend was more like, nope, you just maybe just let go. And it's like, okay, I'll try that.
I'll try. Yeah.
See how it works out.
Yeah. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah. It is difficult, and I think the thing that I hope people hear is we do this well. Like we do this well sometimes, and we do it not as well other times.
Yep.
And one of the challenges is to slow. Again, like I'm going to sound like a broken record. Like you need to live a different pace in order to do what you've done, which is to say, okay, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to let go of? We're going to do the right thing because we believe it's the right thing.
Yeah.
And you call us to do the right thing.
My cat's still alive, by the way.
It also worked out well.
Yeah.
Health-wise.
Yeah. But yeah.
So it is like you can imagine a pace of life that prevents you from even having those initial conversations where you're like, well, this is what we're going to do, because it's not in your case, like sure in your situation, but in any situation, we're not even going to entertain the idea that this is a possibility because I have too much going on. So this is what I pointed out about Joseph is like Joseph's made up his mind. He's made up his mind and God changes it.
Yeah.
Which, as a simple definition goes, is a great way to start talking about repentance. But he had made up it. So I'm actually going to read it because it's a good, like it's just a good reminder that you need to live a different pace in order to really, like, I think, allow God to change your mind on things. So, unwilling to put her to shame, resolved to divorce her quietly.
He made up his mind.
Other translations had it in mind.
This is the thing that I'm going to do.
Yep. And this is like, I'm going to try to do it graciously or generously as possible. Like at the end of the day, the outcome is still the same. She's a single mom on her own, which is not like that's a social death.
Yeah.
And for many, probably a literal death in certain situations and circumstances. But at very minimum, social death, the outcome is the same. He had it in mind. He resolved. He made up his mind, and God changed it. And I go, that changes the pace of life that you start to live at when God does those things, and when you allow him to change your mind on something. Go, okay, I had it in mind to do this. God, I'm going to allow you to change my pace, my speed of life, my day, my schedule, my control, my desire, my want, my whatever it is, so that you can do something. And listen, like there's the theologian side of me. So like, God's going to do what he's going to do anyways. But the invitation is to respond and to be open to, and in many ways, I think, to be curious about what God is doing. So curiosity.
And there is a sacrifice that Joseph had to make in that moment. Like, I think in the sense of like, man, like that, even for Mary, it would be far worse for her to have been left alone. But Joseph certainly had to be counting the cost of taking Mary to be his wife while pregnant with, others aren't going to know it's the Son of God. Right. So like there is a certain weightiness to the decision that he had to make. And he chose the path not of self-salvation, but of doing the right thing, of doing what God called him to do. And so like, I don't know, like just talk for a moment. Maybe this is the last thing we talk about, just about sacrifice, about some things that we could be doing, you and I, our church, whoever, that might get us to that place where we can be open and receptive to God's disruptions. And also just maybe that there's some things we need to sacrifice and let go of that God might just be calling us to because it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, difficult question. Love it. So yeah, how can we sacrifice? I think. Well, let me start here. Connie and I, my wife and I, did years ago before our kids were born. Goodness. Before our kids were born, we did this. So admittedly, this is easier to do when you are like fully autonomous, only responsible for yourself and like a spouse, right? But harder to do with kids. We did this challenge. Connie came home with this idea. And at first I was like, no part of me wants to do this. Why? Like, why? But she'd been doing a lot of reading and writing in the arena of food security and insecurity and supply and demand. The reality that we have, I don't know how many times the amount of food required to feed every single human on Earth. And don't. It's a distribution issue, right? Not a production issue and all the things. So she's like, one thing that we're gonna do. So we're gonna not buy anything, no food, until we eat everything in our house. Everything that we've stored up in our freezer, everything that we've stored up in our pantries, the last can of beans that's dented, like, on the side because it's fallen out of the cupboard 27 times and it's got like dents all over it.
Like the can opener can barely open it.
Exactly. You just keep chucking it to the back, right? Like the dried beans from 3 years ago that you've got to soak for 3 days before you can eat them, or even cook them. Yeah. And at first I was like, this idea stinks. This sucks. This is going to be like the worst month ever. And it was our first year of marriage and we were trying to just figure everything out. She comes with this idea and I was like, I guess so. We'll try it. And still like 10 years later, it will be something that I remember us doing until I die. Like it was really fun. And again, like it's just, I mean, even to acknowledge the fact that it's a privilege to have food stored, right?
Yep.
Like the average household has, and I'm not going to remember all the stats, so you can fact check all of this, but it's multiple weeks, if not months. I think it's multiple months worth of food in their home, just stashed away, and mostly forgotten. So one of the things that it taught me is, and like I love Connie for this because she is such a better person than me, and like she's like full on.
I hope she listens.
It's like so many, probably not. So many good ideas, but like she loved it, and it was like this creative outlet for her, and just like trying all these crazy different recipes of like let's add this and this and this. We were eating the weirdest things. But it was a blast.
That's fun. Okay, so this is like smaller version of that, but my wife was traveling for work last week and I just, time did not allow for like a grocery store. I mean, I could have done an online order, but I just wasn't thinking that. So I just like was making do with what we had in the home. And so like, and I've been on a bean kick, I think it's a bit of a trend right now. Just they're cheap and they're fiber and protein and all the things, right? Yep. So I was like, I'm going to find a lot of ways to use this big case of black beans that I got from Costco, and I made like my own, like, like barbecue beans and did like cheesy beans on toast and things like that. You know what? It was good.
Beans are the food of the future, man.
They are. They need to be.
Absolutely.
They need to.
I thought you were going to talk about that soup that you made, and I'm like, I had that
soup.
But
the soup, that was another thing though. I was like, okay, I've got this butternut squash. I've got this cauliflower I need to use up. Otherwise, it's going to go to waste. So I'm going to make a soup. Yeah.
Okay, but I had that soup. This month was not that soup. That was good. No, but you get the idea. So again, like the goal isn't like, oh shoot, now I got to do this crazy challenge, right? what it taught me was we consume goods without really considering what we have or don't have and what we need or don't need.
Yeah.
So it changed the way I think on good days. On bad days, doesn't. On good days, it changed the way I think about our consumable goods, food, clothing, the things we bring into the house or not. So it changed because you start to realize, oh my goodness, like we can have a lot of fun mixing, like just throwing stuff into a pan and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
We ate some terrible meals, but we also ate some.
Don't romanticize it too much.
No, we ate some horrible, but we also ate some really good meals, and
Yeah.
it just like it puts you in a different frame of mind. It taught me that I'm gonna be more grateful when I shop. I'm gonna be more grateful when I'm following a recipe to a T, which is something that I really like doing. Like I love like when I can get a recipe out, and like it's probably the only area of my life where I'm like, if it says to put some like a teaspoon and a half in, like I'm weighing it out. Like just give me the grams, not the anyways. So I love doing that, and it just taught me to let go of some of those things and to be more conscientious about what I am consuming, what I'm throwing away, portions, not. And that's great for food. You know, you might be able to do that for food. You might not. You know, some people have healthy relationships to food. Some people have unhealthy relationships to food. So like, you've got to figure that out for you. I can't dictate that for you, listener. But what it did was I now buy clothing differently as well, because I consider it differently. And again, on the poorer days, I'm like, okay, Black Friday sale, great. I'm gonna buy 7 T-shirts that are all the same.
Yeah.
And on good days, I'm like, no, I'm going to slow down. And before I buy anything, I'm going to dig everything out and I'm going to wear it all once. And whatever doesn't get worn is going to get donated or thrown out, or like maybe it just needs to go to the bin, but the garbage. But it changed the way I look at how we consume things. And so we're talking about sacrifice, just to bring it all back home. I think that we can romanticize or overcommit to these big challenges, which might be good. The only thing I've ever learned in the big challenges that stuck with me is how to think differently about the small everyday things. That's the benefit, really. Like, you know, you do a long fast, fine, good, whatever, great. Just changes the way you think about day to day. You know, you do this month of food thing, whatever you want to call it, eat your freezer. The only thing it's really going to change is hopefully like how you purchase and how you allot food like day to day and week to week and how you consider it. Like it's going to change those small things. So,
or something like, you know, we've talked a lot about technology and some of the just dangers of just the constant scrolling and doom scrolling and all the things like, and we had challenged some folks over the summer to like, you know, really eliminate all that. And I know that it changed some things for me, not everything, but a lot of things. And so I think that's the hope, right? Is that like when you do the big thing, you sacrifice for a season, you can then start to work through some of your patterns and adjust and cultivate a life that is more balanced. I don't know if I like that word balance, but like a life that is more less prone to some of the extreme proclivities that we may have.
Yeah. So Joseph had to sacrifice. What did he have to sacrifice? Probably most of his social capital.
Yeah.
Right. You know, would have been one of the things that first to go out the door. In some way, probably his own religious, like ritual purity. And the way he related to his religious community would have been sacrificed. The way he related to his social community, which were the same, but socially, religiously, like he's laying down his own status to do this. So I think that would be the way I'd want to challenge our folks, right? Is there an area of your life where you can lay down, call it status, call it privilege, call it ability, whatever that piece is.
Or just your pride.
Yep. What is something that you can allow into your life that challenges those things to go? Yeah, it might, maybe you want to do a similar food thing. Maybe you want to do a similar clothing thing. Maybe you want to do like whatever, a tech thing. But I think that it starts to look like changing the way you relate to others. So Joseph doesn't he doesn't sacrifice for his own sake.
Nope.
Sacrifices for the sake of Mary.
Who I think you'd argue, I think you said this earlier, Mary had more on the line. You know, Mary, and so like I don't want to like I think we should look at Joseph, and Joseph has there's some parts of his story that are fascinating and worth emulating in some ways. But I think it's just worth noting that Mary had more on the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, really practically, maybe you're like, I am going to do that food thing. And I would say, okay, so Christmas or January.
I was going to say January might be better.
But okay, so let me put it this way. January is one of the lowest food like supply months for the food bank.
Yeah.
They always need things because what happens is everybody's like, we're going to be super generous leading up to Christmas. And then like the bottom falls out.
It's all gone.
For the food. Yeah. Everything's gone and you need to replenish your stores. So, okay, simple. I say that cautiously. One way that you could sacrifice, I think, for the sake of another would be to say either everything we buy that is a luxury item, we're going to buy 2 and give 1 away. Or as we don't need to purchase as much ourselves, instead, we're going to use that remaining funds to purchase for somebody else.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Yeah.
Just a practical way to end, I think, in terms of what it might look like for us to start to sacrifice for others.
Yeah. And so as we think about sacrifice, not just being a means to an end for ourselves, but as a way to honor God and to bless others, and to like that's a great reframing. Because I think that there's a lot of our world, I think, can sort of have this attitude of I'm just going to be refining myself, and it's really for my own sake, right? And so, so I hope that we can consider some of these things, and even over the month of December, how we might live differently. That's been our theme over Advent. I mean, it's just started, but it's what we've been encouraging ourselves and you all toward. And so we're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep bringing to mind the ways in which this Advent and Christmas, God is calling us to do something different and to be different people. So, and again, we'd love to hear some of your stories, that if there's something that you are contemplating, something that you are working through, some way that God's shown up in your life in light of all this, we'd love to hear that. And you can send that to our questions@courtrightchurch.org email. And with permission, we'd love to share some of those if any of those come up. So we'll leave it there for now. And we hope to see you again, and have a great week.